Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Being Human Now show. I'm your host, Jennifer Locksmith, and today we have Barbara Shupe with us.
Hi.
Hi. She is a naturalist, a way shower for many, a beloved mother to numerous precious fur babies, some in this realm and others waiting for her over the Rainbow Bridge. Barb is also a friend of the Sasquatch people and the fairy realm. She recently wrote a book about her amazing supernatural experiences called The Unseen Audience: Walking with the Sasquatch. Barb Barb has also shared her I don't know if it's going to show up. Oh
Oh,
no.
okay. It's
We'll
all
talk
good.
about it in a second. It's my background. Barb has also shared her experiences in the recent Flash of Beauty paranormal Bigfoot documentary. She lives a peaceful and paranormal life with her family in the Cascade Mountains of Washington State. Barb Shoup, welcome to the Being Human Now show. Thank you for sharing your magnificent experience with us and bringing truth and clarity to our realm. You are appreciated.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm grateful to have you here, and I'm grateful for this book. And even though it's not, well, you held it up, you could see it because it's my background.
Let's,
But I,
let's see.
yes,
There it is.
beautiful book. I will
Oh,
superimpose
thank
a
you.
picture over this because this
Okay.
always.
Oh,
Thank you
I
so
can
much
see
for
it.
this. Yes, it's popping up. Thank you so much for this beautiful book and letting us into your world and live vicariously through you. And the pictures and the research and the documenting is just amazing. You feel like you're right there. And if you got your furry family there and all your evidence, it's just amazing. I highly recommend if you haven't read it, you've got to get it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it was awesome. So, I mean, anyone that's had these experiences, I love your title. Like anyone that's had the experiences kind of understands the phenomenon, right? But I think it's probably a
Mhm.
very natural thing, having these experiences with the Sasquatch people. So the unseen audience, I think it's such a beautiful, perfect title. But for
Well,
people
thank
that,
you.
yeah, but for people that may not have had the experiences, people have had out there, why did you pick that title?
Because I think that it sums up my relationship with them here.
Mm-hmm.
They're always around, they're always watching. And on rare occasions I get to see them. They'll give me a glimpse. So they're not, just invisible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they can be, but they're mostly just unseen,
Yeah.
and it's like their purpose here in this area, I think, is in two parts. One, they bring their youngsters here to observe humans in a safe environment where they can watch and see how we move, how we talk, how we function, how we think. Because there's a lot of neighbors in this on this road, particular, that have been here for decades, and we're safe people. And I think on the other end of it, this is just part of their route to go from one side of the valley to the other. And over time, we've been here so long that it's developed, a relationship. Once we started acknowledging that they're out there, you know they they're happy to trade gifts back and forth, and share experiences and knowledge. And I think on some level they really do want us to know that they're out there, that we're not just the guardians of this world alone. We're sharing it with other individuals who cherish it and value it as much as we do, or should anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. Thank you for that. I totally agree. So,
You're
so you
welcome.
said that in the book you were said you were dismissing happenings for like 20 years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, quite a while.
yeah, I mean, I'm wondering, did you have experiences when you were young that you look back now and you're wondering, I wonder if that was them, or I wonder if that was the fairies, or
I
anything
do.
like that?
There's a few things that, not necessarily, sightings or interactions. When I was a kid, my mom and my grandparents used to tell a story that they'd chuckle about how a few weeks before I was born, my mom was up on a local mountain here picking mushrooms with my grandfather. And at some point, my grandfather looked at my mom and said, "So when is that kid due anyway?" Well, mom says, "2 weeks ago." Grandpa says, "Get in the car. We're going home now." So that mountain overlooks the places that we go and have our Sasquatch interactions now. So sometimes I wonder if maybe that was when I first connected to them, was when I was still in the womb, because my entire life I've been drawn back to this place. And there were dreams and things that I had as a child, and the first time that I went to Mount St. Helens as a kid, my folks used to take us camping there before it blew up at Spirit Lake. And the park rangers would gather all the children together at night around a big bonfire and tell stories. And that was the first time that I heard about the Ape Canyon and the incident that happened there. And I was fascinated. It opened a door for me that was not scary or frightening or anything. It was just something that I was almost addicted to as a child. Anything that I could get my hands on, any book or any kind of an article, any TV program that came on, which back in the 70s were pretty rare, but they did happen. So that was really special. And then, I just have had this draw to go back ever since. So I think that's it.
Yeah,
It was meant to be.
definitely meant to be. And I believe that too. Yeah. Everything, I wonder, it almost sounds like it was a remembering for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've thought about that too. If maybe this is something that I did in my previous life, something that maybe something I agreed to come back here and
Yeah.
participate in this farther,
Yeah.
help bring some knowledge and understanding to the world.
Absolutely. Maybe you were a Sasquatch person in a past life.
Maybe
Yeah.
because I'm awfully comfortable in the woods.
Yeah. I definitely think so. And they seem to be very comfortable with you. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So you said your experiences started in November of 2012?
Well, that was when I first actually understood what was happening. I was having
Okay.
experiences many years before that.
Hmm.
I had found a perfect footprint and some broken trees on the first walk that I took up the trail here in 1992. And,
Okay.
over the years, there were things like owls that growled and odd structures in the woods that I kind of chalked up to kids, and there was a few times that rocks would be thrown and you always rationalize things, you chalk it up to something else. And I can remember thinking a few times, I wonder if this is something a Sasquatch would do. And then immediately my brain would go, nah, this is a small town. If we had Sasquatches around here, I'd know about it. People talk, but it turns out they don't talk about Sasquatch unless you ask them. And for some of them, even then, they're not real open with it. But things are changing. That's getting better.
Yeah. Well, I think you're a big part of that. I mean, didn't you helped to start that in your own way at the store you were working at, correct? That you got
Yeah, I
people to
did.
open up. What a
Yeah.
breath of fresh air.
Well,
Yeah.
a few days after I had my sighting of the Sasquatch following the elk up here on the hill behind the cabin,
Hmm.
well, it was probably more than a few days. It might have been a couple of weeks because I had to work things through my own head and figure out how things were happening before I could even talk about it.
Yeah.
But one night we'd closed the store and my boss was behind the till, ringing up the day's sales. And I grabbed my coat and my purse and I was headed out the door. And I said, "So just so you know, I saw a Sasquatch." And he kind of looked at me over his glasses and went back to what he was doing on the till and didn't say a word. But within a month, we had a sign on the front of the store that said, "Report all Bigfoot encounters here." So that was where that actually began, was right there.
Oh, that's awesome.
That look over the glasses, I'll
Yeah.
never forget.
Like, all right, we're going there. We're doing this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember the first person that opened up to you at the store? Like, I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing their story, but do you
Oh my
remember?
gosh. Um, I remember a lot of the stories, but I don't remember exactly which one is first. One of my favorites,
Yeah.
because most of the time when people came in to talk about it, they'd come in with their friends or they'd be part of a group that was camping or traveling, and they would see the sign and want to come in and share. And they'd always have, that one person in their group who was the skeptic, who was, joking around and kind of picking on them a little bit for wanting to talk about it. But that person always wound up kind of in the background, listening to the conversation and maybe even having their mind open a little. But one of my favorite experiences was there was a very young couple, probably late teens, maybe on a date, maybe just out for a hike. I don't know. They came in and I had stickers for sale on the counter. And the girl, she's just a tiny little thing. And she walks up to the counter and she looks at the stickers and she goes, "Oh, I love Bigfoot. My uncle out in Omak has Sasquatches on his farm. And the guy that's with her, he's probably 6'3" and a green bean. I mean, just skinny as could be. You know, one of those guys that's going to fill out someday, but
Yeah.
he hadn't yet. So he's towering over her, and he comes over and he looks at the stickers and he goes, "Oh no," he says, "I was over at Bumping Lake once, and it screamed at me, and I ran and I ran and I ran." And he says, "I finally stopped and I looked down and my legs were covered with blood from because I was so scared. I was terrified that it was chasing me." And she looks up at him with these big blue eyes and goes, "Really? They're always so friendly up at my uncle's farm." We're watching these
Wow.
two with their
Moment.
mixed, experiences. He's terrified and she's just thinking, well, they're just so wonderful.
What do
So
you
I
mean?
can only imagine where their conversation went after that, but
Yeah.
I was very privileged to witness it.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, one of my
That's
favorites.
funny. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I love that story. But it's true, right? Like the people do have different experiences and they are people like us. So like would you say they're a
Hmm.
mixed bag? I mean, some are cool and fun, some are cranky. Like what's your opinion?
Yeah, I think so. They're going to be even our pets have different personalities, and have different things that they respond to that make them happy, and I think overall they're generally a happy kind of being. But there's going to have some that are going to maybe have some issues, some anger, maybe some mental problems. There's always going to be that unknown possibility, but I
Yeah.
think generally they're good-hearted, loving beings,
Yeah.
so but could be that there's dangers. Well, and you also have to figure that there's a lot of people that go into the woods having an experience and they see a monster because that's what they've been conditioned into. They don't realize that when they come out of the woods and they tell the story that I almost made it out alive, there was no almost. If you weren't going to come out alive, you wouldn't have seen it coming. So there is that too. It's a matter of perception. Were you actually in danger or did you just perceive it that way?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, people just see them cross their path and they're terrified and they come out saying they saw the monster and it was horrible. And it's like, okay, well, what happened?
yeah.
Oh, well, it looked at me. Okay, well.
Yeah, I know. It was a scary look.
Right, right. So yeah, and I think it also depends on what we bring to the table too. The
Oh,
attitude
excuse
we go
me.
in with.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Arla likes to say that we create our own reality. And there is so
Mhm.
much truth in that. It's our reality is based on our perception and our ideas. So if we're out there looking for a beautiful experience, that's what we're going to find.
Yeah.
And Jack, stop, buddy. Sorry.
The fur babies are here with us, as they should be, because they're always with you when you
Yes.
have experiences. He may have something to say.
That's right. There could be
Yeah.
some other dog out there in podcast land that hears him and is getting the
Yeah.
message.
Yeah. It's like I want to be on camera. Um,
This dog
um,
knows Sasquatch.
yeah, well, sometimes I've heard them that the dogs hang out with them sometimes. Have you heard stories about that?
Oh yeah. Gabby used to just have a blast with them. When she'd get the zoomies in the woods, she'd run in circles and then she'd stop and she'd look around like, "Are you there? Are you watching?" And there was
Yeah.
one time at my gifting area, I had my bucket lowered. I'm putting apples and pie and peanut butter in it, and I have my camera. I'm filming what I put in it, and my camera just turns off. It just dies, and I'm like, "What happened to my camera?" And then right here, there's a log, a big old rotten log, and a black blur comes running up the side of it right there beside me. And, my first thought is that it's Gabby. Well, the black blur turns and runs back the way it came. And then here comes Gabby from behind me chasing the black blur. And then Gabby comes running back, looking over her shoulder, like, "Where'd you go? You were supposed to chase me." you
Yeah.
know? And, they bring her balls and gifts, they're all the time, we'll be just walking along and I turn around, look at her, she just got a ball in her mouth. It's like, where did you get that? you
I love
know?
it. So they play with her. Do you think it's the Sasquatch children that are playing with her?
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure of it because I think they're pretty much the same size as her, and they're black and fast and love to run on all fours.
Yeah.
So who better to play with than a big
Absolutely.
old fluffy dog?
Absolutely. And she
Yeah,
passed suddenly, didn't she?
she did.
And I
Yes.
wrote down in September 2018. I'm so sorry.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
It was a really hard time.
Yeah, their
Yeah.
family. And that's another thing that I think speaks volumes. You have a beautiful story in there about not only did the Sasquatch people acknowledge her passing, they grieved with you. Would you mind
They did.
talking a little bit about that? Because I think that's
Yeah.
pretty telling. Yeah.
Um, when Gabby passed away, we had a memorial gathering here at my cabin, and to decorate the yard, we went out and we picked a bunch of vine maple leaves, you know, with the fall colors. There was a lot of gold and red and orange, and we just made bouquets all around the yard, and it was beautiful. And we had the memorial here. People sent rocks from all over the world, you know, people that loved Gabby, and they're all on her grave. And a few days later, I was walking out to the bridge. You know, the creek flows right beside my cabin here, and there's a bridge on the road that leads to the driveway. And you know, on the corner posts of the bridge, there are the reflective warning signs. Well, as we're walking out to the trail right there beside the bridge, I discovered that each one of those reflective signs had a big leaf maple pinned behind it. And one of them pinned so tightly that the sheet metal was actually pinched around the stem of the leaf. So that was permanent. That was
Yeah.
it. It was there for the leaf decomposed and was gone, but the stem was there for 3 years. You know, every season I got to drive home and see that little piece of stem sticking up at the top of the sign, sometimes with snow on it. But every time I drove by, it warmed my heart. It was a reminder, you know, of the love that the Sasquatch felt for my girl, you know,
Yeah.
and it was beautiful.
Yeah, that is beautiful. And I can just see the one individual doing that, wanting it to last. Like, oh, I'm going to make this stick here
Yeah.
forever.
And it's over my head, you know. I mean, how many people do you know that can reach up and bend sheet metal and pinch it around something so small?
Yeah, absolutely. They were making their mark.
They
Why do you
were,
think
yeah.
maple leaves? Why did you have a theory as to why they chose those type of leaves, or do you think it was just random?
You know, I think, well, first of all, they're available. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of big leaf maple trees around here. And, you know, we had used the smaller vine maple leaves,
Mm-hmm.
which are maybe this big, and the big leaf maple leaves are like this big, you know. So um, it's a representative type of thing, maybe that our leaves are the smaller ones. And here, this is from us. We used the big leaves, you
Oh,
know, and I think maybe because the stems themselves are just bigger and thicker and easier to handle,
mm-hmm.
and they had used leaves before. Sometimes when I go off on a trip or you know, a camp out or something, I get home and I'll discover that there's a big leaf, uh, maple leaf stuck in the handle of my car door. So it's just kind of a sign that they use.
Yeah, it's their calling card, sounds like for
Yeah.
you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've said they've come in and out of your life from time to time. And I'm wondering if you've noticed a pattern because it's interesting. I also listen to Modern Fairy Sightings podcast. And the people that have fairy sightings say something very similar, Barb, that the fairies seem to show themselves at certain points in their life. Big moments, difficult moments, happy lifetime milestone moments. I'm wondering if that's something you've noticed or if it's just they just come in and out randomly.
Um, you know, I think once you're connected to them, they become like a part of you. They can see through your eyes. They know what's in your head. They know what's in your heart and what you're feeling. And you know, I think that when we're busy living our lives and that's where our focus is, we don't realize that they are still there with us all that time. So when we are in need of support, that's when it becomes obvious. That's when they actually reach out and become obvious to us that they're still with us. So those are the times that you're more aware of it, even though I think they're probably still with you, but on a more subtle level, even when you're just off living your life.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of folks make a connection earlier in life, and it's almost like it goes dormant until, you know, you get a little older and your kids are raised, and you know, you've accomplished the things that you want to accomplish in life, and when you're ready, that's when things start happening and things become very apparent. But otherwise, they're always going to be there to offer support. And you know, I think that if you talk to them, no matter whether you think that anybody's going to hear you or not, that message goes out, and they'll respond to that. So a lot of times when you're suffering or you're hurting or you're celebrating or you're having extreme emotions, that triggers more contact. That's going to get their attention. That's going to bring them closer to you. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree that resonates. And I know, I mean, I've been having supernatural paranormal experiences. It happened a lot when I was a little girl, and it seemed to take a break during my schooling years. It was like I was being allowed to have that experience of, just being a kid, like a teenager and a high schooler and a college student. And then it picked back up again once I graduated college, like pretty much that summer is when,
That's
yeah, like I
when
started.
you were ready.
Yeah. And I think it would have messed with me during this formative year because they're hard enough as it is. My God, middle school and high
Yeah.
school and just trying to find your place. But I was always interested in that, you have those experiences when you're very young and then it's always in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, but right out of college, I did a road trip with my then, well, he's my ex then, but he was an Eagle Scout. So we did these cool road trips out west and up north. And when we were in Vermont, I'm pretty sure I had there was rock throwing at the tent. And at the time, he was telling me it was acorns hitting the tent. But walking around during the day, I wasn't getting hit in the head by acorns. So, I always,
Yeah.
that was something I filed in the back of my mind, right? We have these experiences
Mhm.
that we file in the back. They're kind of weird or strange. Can't explain it. And then later, now I know it was probably the Sasquatch people throwing acorns at the
Mhm.
tent because they were hitting hard and fast. There was no way it was, I don't know,
Yeah.
acorns falling from.
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
And see, they'll give you these things to go back on, to fall back on when you get, as time goes by,
Hmm.
you'll have more experiences. And it's not that it's not that your understanding of it right now isn't complete, but there are different layers that will become apparent as time goes on and you have more experiences. You'll be able to think back to these events and go, oh, there's a little bit more to this that I didn't quite catch before. And it's almost like peeling an onion. As time goes on and all the pieces start to come together, all of the little experiences put together are more than, the collection of them is more than just that one thing. And you're going to find a lot more that's waiting for you that you already have that's in your past.
I know. It's so exciting, isn't it?
It is. It really is. I
And
love that part of it.
yeah, me too. And I do feel like things, and I've talked to other experiencers, friends, and I do feel like things are amping up a little. Like we're going to start seeing more of this. It's going to become more normal everyday life. I don't know if for everyone, but especially the experiencers.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's exciting times.
It is. And, for all the experiencers that are brave enough to share and talk about it, they're opening minds, they're planting seeds,
Hmm.
and slowly but surely, one mind at a time, the world is going to change and become more enlightened and more open and more loving. And, it's going to reach a tipping point where the naysayers will be the smaller group. Most of us are going to have a lot more beautiful insights and an existence that's full of light and love and understanding because of this. And it's going to have a tipping point pretty soon.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree. Well, speaking of that, I mean, habituation, that's something you've had experience with.
Mhm.
And you've said it goes both ways. Would you mind elaborating on that for
Uh,
people?
well, when you first get into this, you've got your mind set with certain ideas on the way things are and what you think they are and what you're expecting. So you go out and you put offerings in the forest, you think whatever you think they might like, you try different experiments and things. And then as time goes on and you start seeing how that interaction plays out, you eventually come to realize that you're the one that's actually being habituated. Here you think you're trying to get them used to your presence, but the reality of it is they're the one that's getting you ready for them. Because the lessons that you're going to pick up along the way are going to be so mind changing. It's
Yeah.
so altering from what you're going into it with. And you're going to begin to see that, first of all, they're not just another form of wildlife, that they are intelligent, they have capabilities that are beyond our understanding. And when you go into this thinking that, I'm going to get this form of wildlife accustomed to me. It flips over, and suddenly you realize that now I am prepared for something that is beautiful and grand and wonderful. And that's what was really happening the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. They see us coming. We think we're the,
Yeah,
no,
they
no,
do.
they're the elders. It's not us. They probably
Yeah,
think we're so cute. You're so
they
adorable that you
probably
think we're
do.
good.
It's like, look, she's showing us how to open the jar.
Yeah. Would you mind telling that story? I love that story. And that speaks volumes, right? The peanut butter jar story. Would you mind telling that?
Oh, the one about when I asked for him back?
Yeah.
Is
Well,
that the
but you had
one?
to explain to them how,
Oh,
like,
okay.
this,
Oh, that okay.
yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
my
whatever you,
peanut
how,
butter.
wherever you want to take it, because I just love, that's so cool.
I'll start with the beginning and I'll go through my favorite part of it.
Okay.
Okay. So, um, I had first put peanut butter out on the stump with apples and toys, rocks, all kinds of things, just to see what they might like. And the jar sat there for months untouched. And finally, it's to the point where I'm getting ready to just take it back to the cabin and just remove it from the stump altogether. And I thought, before I do that, let's just do one last little attempt. So I did. I held it up and I unscrewed the lid, and so this is how it works, okay, this is how we open it. So then the next time I went out and checked, and it wasn't that jar either, it was the jar that it was at my other gifting area, which was just a few 100 feet away. I went up there and I found it. The lid was on the ground and it had peanut butter in the lid. So I think maybe that it wasn't actually unscrewed. It was just popped off because the jar itself was flattened to about this big, but the mouth was still round, but the rest of the jar had been flattened to squeeze the peanut butter out. And then whatever was left in there, they had been poking with a stick.
Yeah.
And
I think there's a picture in your book, right?
so yes, uh-huh.
Yeah.
I really wish that I'd had a picture of it from the side because the only picture I have in the camera is looking at it from the top, so you can't really see how it was squeezed. But I think maybe that's how the lid came off because it had the peanut butter in the lid, so maybe they popped it off by squeezing it.
Yeah.
But that was when they first got into it. Well, then after, a year or so of this, it was bothering me that, I'd go out every week and I'd collect the empty containers and then refill the bucket with new stuff. But every now and then my peanut butter jar wasn't there. And, as time goes on, that's peanut butter jars are collecting. There's not a bunch of them, but still, I don't want them in the woods. I want to bring this stuff back out. So one day I was kind of joking around. Well, first of all, I thought I'd swap it out with cheese, which I could wrap in wax paper. And then if I didn't get it back, it would decompose. And, so it's protein, it's tasty, and it doesn't have plastic packaging. So I did that for 2 weeks. And then I went out and I found an empty peanut butter wrapper, not the jar, but the wrapper from a jar in my driveway. So it's like, okay, let's go ahead and switch back to the peanut butter.
Hmm.
But then one day I'm out walking and I'm joking around and it's like, could I please have the peanut butter jars back? And I didn't know if anybody was listening or anything, but I just said it out loud. And the very next day, I finished the chores that I'm doing here in the yard, and me and Gabby were going to go up the trail. And as I'm crossing the road, I see this place in my mind. It's like a vision flashes in my mind of a spot downriver where I used to go in looking for rocks. And I thought, I've heard of this. Let's go with this, see where it's going to take us. So I walked downriver. I changed my route and I went down to that spot on the river and I got there. And then I'm a little bit annoyed with myself because I don't know why I'm there. The river is too high to go into the water. The trail ends. There's nowhere else to go from here. What am I doing here? Well, the heck with it. I'm just going to turn and I'm going to bushwhack straight into the woods and I'm going to go back into the area that I was originally going to go to. So I do. I turn and I take 10, 15 steps back into the trees and I look over and there's a tree, about so big around and it has been pushed. So now the tree is leaning and then the roots are sticking up like this and right in that little notch is an empty peanut butter jar. And this is probably 400 or 500 yards from the nearest gifting area. So that didn't just happen to turn up there by accident. So they gave me what I asked for. Only
Yeah.
one, but it makes me feel better thinking, well, apparently they want the rest of them. So,
Yeah. Maybe they're
Other
using them to
jars.
collect rocks or something, you know?
Maybe, maybe
Yeah.
carry water or I don't know, grow
Yeah.
bugs or whatever it is they do.
Yeah. Probably, yeah, little experiments for the little ones. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, do you have any advice for people about types of stuff to leave out if people are new to this and they want to get started? Any ideas for gifts to
I
leave?
would avoid meat.
Okay.
I would avoid anything that, is gonna attract, like bears or, anything that would be smelly. I would
Mhm.
go with toys, things that are interesting, things that are colorful. They like balls a lot. If you're gonna go with food, I would stick with fruit, apples in particular. They don't really like oranges or things like that. I always put a pie out every week, a fruit pie and a jar of peanut butter, and I'd put it in a bucket, with holes in it so it wouldn't collect water. And then I would tie a rope off a high limb and hang it up out of reach the way that they recommend for hikers to do to keep wildlife out of your food. So that helps to eliminate a lot. I put a lot of things on a stump where it's easy to reach and where you can watch how things are rearranged and that's helpful too. But when it comes with the food, you really don't want to make it easy access for any old wildlife to come in and help themselves to it. But one of the things I have noticed is that when something is being made as an offering to the Sasquatch, other than rodents and birds, other wildlife generally leaves it alone. Like I used to take a bouquet of spinach out of my garden every year or every week, and I'd put it in a glass of water and put it on the stump so it would stay fresh and leafy. And nobody ever touched it. The Sasquatch didn't take it, but the elk didn't either. And I mean, the elk will go over my fence to get it here in the yard, but they won't take a fresh bouquet of it sitting on a stump in the woods. So, you can put things in jars. You can give them things to entertain them. Like I did bubble wrap once. They took the bubble wrap across the creek and sat and popped all the bubbles just like a human would. But
So fun.
that was that was once. I replaced the bubble wrap and they never touched it again. So once is good.
Yeah. They had that experience. They're over it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So, and
Yeah.
then there's different foods you'll find they like. I had, the big glass blue mason jars, and I had filled one of those, I think, with dried apricots and peanuts. And when I went back, all the apricots were on the ground. One had a bite out of it, and they just dumped them out, but all the peanuts were eaten. So they took all the nuts and just like, we don't really care for the dried apricots. So they just dumped those out
Yeah.
of the jar.
That's funny. That sounds like me with
Yeah.
trail mix. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like pick out the parts you want
Yeah.
and
Pick out the
throw the
M&Ms
rest.
and the.
Yeah. Oh, M&Ms. I gave them a jar of M&Ms. They tightened the lid on it so tight that it never opened. It's like was
Oh.
permanently sealed.
So
So
maybe we shouldn't be eating M&Ms. Are they bad for us?
you're
Maybe.
right. Yes. Maybe that was an addiction they did not want the kids to have.
Yeah. Too much
Yeah.
sugar. Yeah.
Uh,
That's interesting, Barb. That's really
yeah.
interesting. I think I'm going to abstain from M&Ms now, actually.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what the deal with the
Yeah.
M&Ms are because they don't have any trouble opening the other jars. They knew that it
Yeah.
was being tightened. Yeah.
I feel like
So,
that's a message for our health. I'm gonna take that to heart. Seriously.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so you
Go
said,
for
I
the
mean,
nuts, skip the candy.
yes. Let that be a lesson to all of you. Sugar is the enemy.
That's right. And dried fruit, you don't really want that
Dry
either.
fruit either. Yeah, no. No thanks, I'll pass. Yeah, I'm with them. I would have a meal with them. They sound like they've got good taste. So I definitely want to talk about. We've got pictures, we've got videos. A lot of you have probably seen them unless you've been living under a rock. Barb's amazing experiences, but I know you've been having some new one. I mean, you have experiences every day, but have you been having any recent experiences before we talk about some of the past ones?
Yeah, they've been around. Um, it's probably been a couple of months now. I usually go out at night sometime between 11 and 1 a.m. to take Goldie up the trail, and she just has her sniffing time and she gets to go potty before she goes to bed. And then at the trailhead, there was a vine maple that was dying, and a lot of the branches had kind of clumped together into an arch right at the entrance to the trail. So you kind of had to duck under and go maybe about this wide, foot and a half to that you had to duck under to get under to walk up the trail. And as we're walking up one night, I start to duck and go under, and somebody just right there on the other side of the trail or the other side of the vine maples from me jumped and then hopped and bounced into the creek. And I mean, it was literally like just this far from me, where
Whoa.
I mean, right there. And it startled me. And, I mean, I wasn't afraid, but I mean, I was startled because it just happened so close and right there out of the blue. And I had my little lantern on, and I just kind of I spun it around and I shined it down at the rocks in the base of the creek. And I'm just checking to make sure you're not an elk.
Yeah.
I was just looking for hooves.
And
And
it
there I
wasn't.
couldn't see it. No, there was no elk there. But it was a good startle, but it cracked me up. So there was that. And then
It's like they were waiting for you.
they were
Yeah, like to play
it's
pranks.
like
Yeah.
here she comes, ready and bounce. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and then this last September we were camping, and there was some people that were camping with us that were new to the group. And the one guy, he'd been out in the woods and he heard this kind of a flirty cat sound. Kind of, he said it was like a prrrr sound. Well, his friends teased him for the rest of the week about that sound. So probably two or three times a day, I heard, prrrr, as they're picking on him, right?
Yeah.
So the camp is over. I'm back here, and I go up the trail, and I'm gonna, just I do this a lot after camps. I'll go up there and I'll just talk about what happened. So I'm walking up there where I get to where the Field of Dreams is, and Goldie's sniffing, and I'm kind of like, oh, thank you guys for this awesome camp. It was so much fun. And I hear, like, yeah, yes. So that was you, or you're just imitating or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, I know you're right here. Well, and then about that time I can start hearing the footsteps and the crashing a little farther downstream. It's like, okay, you're all here.
Yeah.
So as I'm walking back, it's just getting into the beyond dusk, where it's almost dark, but not completely. I can just still make out a little bit. So I get to this spot on the trail just up from the cabin here where I can look across the creek and I can see into the woods over there. And that's kind of where the noise was when I was up farther. So I'm looking over there and I see two red eyes flash at me, and then two more red eyes flash at me. And then kind of down lower, a little closer, I start seeing white eyes flashing at me. And it's like, you're all over there. And I'm just like so stoked. And then about that time, just maybe 15 feet down the trail from me, somebody crosses right there and they're coming up right behind me. And I'm just giddy. And I'm looking at Goldie and she's just looking around like, the heck is going on? She's not concerned, just kind of like confused. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here?
Are we having a party?
Yeah, I know. But
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
mean that was just so much fun, a great way to end that camp out, because I mean, first of all, the camp out was wonderful. Everybody had a blast, but then to come home to that acknowledgement of
That's
the things that were happening was just really wonderful.
yeah. Yeah.
So it's an ongoing deal, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And did you validate that gentleman, I hope, after? Did you let him know what happened that you
Yeah.
heard?
Yes, it happened. Yep.
Yeah, good. Okay. Poor guy. I'm sure he
It
got a
was
kick out of that. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, they have a sense of humor.
oh, they're hilarious. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, did I ever tell you, have you heard about the jazz hand?
I think I've heard of it, but please remind me. I
Okay.
vaguely, I
So,
vaguely remember that, like something about this coming across the screen.
well, this is at our most recent location that we've discovered here in just the last few years that we go to. And honestly, I don't think we discovered it. We were drawn there. We were shown this place to go to.
Yeah, there are no
So,
coincidences when it comes to them, would you
right.
say? Yeah.
Well, a lot of weird things happen here. And I mean, this is the place where we got to. In the very first night we were there, we had vocalization right by the campfire, and we had run through camp, and when we went to bed that shook cots, and that's where we got the giant fingerprint. And
Yeah.
a lot of things happen there. It's a very active place. And then one night This would have been June of 2024. We have a rain shelter that's set up next to the river with one sidewall on a canopy that keeps the breeze off. So with the fire, it's very warm. It's open, on three sides. We're right there, so we can see and hear everything and still be comfortable. Well, one night I'm sitting and I have my back to the sidewall, and my friend Lee is sitting behind me. And I look over, and from the edge of the sidewall, I see a black shadow hand reach out up to about the elbow. And then I'm looking around at the group, is like, y'all see this?
Yeah.
And nobody else is paying attention. I tap on Lee's shoulder and I'm like, look, look, look.
Oh my
So
gosh.
she looks, and about that time, now the arm has come, the hand has come out, but the arm has disappeared. So I'm trying to get it in on camera here. So the hand is only visible from about here, and
Uh-huh.
it starts waving at us.
Oh my
And it's
gosh.
doing like the jazz hand. So we're all sitting there watching this hand, and Lee, she's looking around, and she's trying to figure out how this is happening. How is this possible?
Yeah.
So she goes, "Everybody wave your hands." Like we're gonna figure out this shadow, how this is happening.
Right.
And Russ, he's sitting over here, and he says, "Well, clearly there it is, and yet none of us are waving our hands." you know, he's just totally
Yeah.
matter of fact, like we're observing this in a very, very scientific manner here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty cool. And we just all just sat there and watched it for
Oh my
probably a minute
gosh.
before it just disappeared. It just faded away.
What a
You know how many
gift.
times I've been in the woods and said it'd be nice if you just wave.
You're like, all right, fine, here we are. And
Yeah,
she was still trying to rationalize it. Yeah, it's funny what our
I
minds do.
know. Yep.
That's
But
awesome.
that just shows how what kind of sense of humor they
Oh my
have. I
gosh, you're
mean,
making me
how
tear
long
up.
did it take him to think that one up? Can you imagine the laugh they had, the chuckles they had, just coming up with, "Oh, I've got a good one. Let's do this."
Yeah, do it now. Oh my gosh. That's awesome. That's so awesome.
So,
And you're just enjoying each other. Yeah.
oh yeah, and we've discovered that that's part of why we put our camp right next to the river, because that's most of the time they come from the water. They come across the river, and they like to hear stories about themselves. So
Yeah.
we invite them to come, and we share stories, and particularly if they're a hero in the story, they really like that a lot.
Yes,
But
that's you have a story about that in your book. So cool.
yeah,
Right?
and
Yeah.
well, a lot of the folks that are sitting along the river's edge get to hear their responses, the little sounds they make when they're responding to our stories.
Hmm.
But the people on the far side of the fire don't get to experience that so much. So I got some of these little flashing motion sensor cat balls that I put along the bank. And September before last, our group actually got to see one of the balls get picked up and moved about 8 feet and put back down slightly upstream, right there at the edge of our camp where we're all sitting. And
Wow.
then right over the bank, you could see it was probably maybe like a 7 foot drop down to the water with kind of a gentle slope. And right there on that slope, somebody with very long legs had sat there and drained off.
Oh my
So all
gosh.
the all the water was eroded away from or the dirt was eroded away from the water draining off of them
Oh
while
my
they were sitting there
goodness.
listening to the stories.
Whoa,
So
so cool. Well, let's pull up
yeah,
your pictures because you were generous
okay.
enough to share some pictures
I
with
think I sent you a
us.
picture of those legs, the
Yes,
leg
I
marks.
was gonna ask you that. Now, some of my here we go. So I'm gonna share. Here we go. So I just kind of did them. I tried to group them in the themes that you sent me. Um, so if you could, are you seeing them? Did I do
Yep.
it?
Okay. That is a glyph that
Okay.
was left out here in the yard. This was just before we went to our that new campsite that I told you we were led to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this was maybe 2 nights before we set up camp that I was out here with my friend. We had the propane fire pit going one night. We're all happy and excited about this upcoming camp. And we can hear the Sasquatch in the woods and in the creek and in the river. The sounds, the responses to our conversation. And then at one point in the darkness above the cabin, I see or I hear a wood snap. Like a stick just snapped, and then out of the darkness, I see this stick flying at me, kind of at an angle, spinning end over end. It's maybe 8, 9 inches long and as big around as my thumb. And it gets about 6 feet from me because it's coming right at me and it just disappears. It vanishes into thin air. So, I'm looking and I'm looking at the ground. There's no sticks on the ground. There's a rock, but it was not a rock that was thrown at me. And then Goldie's laying on the ground beside me with her back to me, and I can hear sticks snapping. Well, I'm thinking, is she chewing on a stick? As she gets up and walks away, and no, she doesn't have a stick. There's no stick bits on the ground. She wasn't chewing anything. So I don't know where this sound came from. Well, then the next morning I got up and went out, and these 3 sticks were lined up just like that, pointing right at my chair right there,
Oh my
where I'd
gosh.
been sitting the night before.
Oh, I think you sent a picture of that. Yes,
Yeah,
right?
yep, there it is.
Oh,
So that's
so
where we
cool,
were sitting.
Barb.
So that I'm pretty sure, I don't know that that is the stick that I saw thrown at me, but
Mm-hmm.
I talked to Arla afterwards and she said that what happened was they were cloaked right here in the yard and somebody caught that stick. And when a cloaked individual grabs something, then that whatever they grabbed is also then cloaked. That's why the stick just vanished in midair. But
Oh,
then whoever
wow.
was standing there also was snapping sticks. And then I believe that these 3 sticks represent the 3 individuals that were probably part of the cloaker event. That um, this just represents the 3 that come and watch us in the yard. These are our unseen audience sticks. So,
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I love that. Yeah, one time I got three feathers, different ones.
oh, there
And
you go.
I was gonna ask if you think there's significance to three, but yeah, I don't know if each of them gave me their favorite bird type of bird or what. I have
That could
them.
be.
Yeah. So cool. That's awesome. Oh, hang on. Oh, okay. So, do you want to set us up for this? It just automatically started.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, this
This
is
is the
the,
famous footage that you
yeah,
caught.
that's the Quaker.
Groundbreaking.
That was our second camp that we had. I was just going to take some folks up the trail and show them some structures. And it's not far from the cabin here. We stepped off the trail to just look at a broken tree. And while we're looking at the tree, Claudia, who's standing there in front of me, kind of kept looking off to the side in the bushes in front of me. And I'm looking to see what she's looking at, and I'm not seeing anything. And I had my camera on. It was attached to my walking stick, just in case, there was any vocals or sound or anything happened. I wasn't actively aiming at anything and making a recording. It was just in case. And then I see this little black haired, triangular shaped individual pop up and took off running. And, he was just, no neck, just like from head right into arms and shoulders right there. So triangular in shape, but he was all arms, legs, and hair and took off running. And I had hoped that the camera picked it up because it was aimed that way. But the camera was, on my walking stick. So its angle of view was about 1.5 feet lower than mine. So it didn't see what I saw. And what it saw, I didn't see. So we got back to camp and took a look at what it was on there. And, I wasn't quite sure, my little iPod screen, what I'm looking at is just a blur. So we put it on a regular computer screen. And at that point, now it looks like something from the Predator movie. And, my iPod could not do Predator things, could not do Hollywood things. So
Yeah.
we put it on my dad's big screen TV in his RV. And that was a big paradigm shift for me right there. That was, I had been in denial about a lot of stuff up until that point, and I no longer could be. It was definitely a cloaked individual that we were looking at. And so we went back the next day, and the first thing we did was look for a bush, something leafy, something that could have created that, make an illusion. And
Hmm.
there was nothing there. We pinpointed the spot where there was a horizontal limb, branch, piece of wood that was about so big around that was across there, and it had dropped down in front of that. And when it popped up on the back side is when I saw it, and then from there we could follow the tracks that it had made. And there was also a second individual that had gone straight back and looped back around. And I think they both wound up going down into a hole between some logs, with some old logging debris that was there. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, the only thing that was there was like a stick, one big stick. So I suspect maybe whoever that dropped down was holding onto a branch or holding onto this stick. Um, because Claudia kept saying something about she was seeing fingers and hands on a stick. So, but she was never really clear about that as to whether she was seeing something in the tree holding it, where she was seeing the fingernails, or if it was the branch or a stick or whatever it was. But yeah, I never really did get a clear idea of what it was that
Yeah.
Claudia had seen.
Yeah. Well, this is fascinating. And I'm sorry, I kind of talked over you. I wanted
Oh,
to say this is
oh,
groundbreaking footage, but it's called the cloaker. Sorry, I
oh
spoke
yeah.
over when you said that. You said what the footage we're about to see is called the cloaker.
Hmm.
And this was looked at by, I think by Flash of Beauty team interviewed, wasn't it
Hmm.
the guy that did the Predator, or he's involved with
Yeah.
the technology for
Joel
Hollywood.
Hynek. Yeah.
And he looked at this and he said, "No, that's we can't do that." So,
Yeah. It
yeah,
would have taken a lot of preparation, a pre-plan. There's no way that anybody would have thought that this just was happening out of the blue. It would have taken a whole crew of people to produce this,
yeah,
you know.
absolutely. And it's genuine. You
Yeah.
can hear it in your voice.
Yeah.
So I'll play it right now. Here we go. It's the cloaker that Barb Shupe caught. Okay, so I'll rewind it and I see it. So I'll kind of put my mouse over where it
Yeah.
is.
There's like a little branch sticking out of the tree in the foreground, and at the tip of that
It's
branch, there's like a white flash, and it happens just right
it's like
there's the
right here,
flash. Yeah.
right there.
So you see that white flash, and then it drops down, and
Yeah.
and I think I sent you a second clip where it's zoomed in and looped so you can get a close look at it.
Um, that's so cool. That is so
Isn't that
cool.
something?
And I have no doubt that they gave that. They intended for you to capture that. You
Yeah.
were the
Oh,
one
and
they
you know
wanted.
what else? In the video clip, just seconds after it happened, there's a glitch in the footage. So it actually affected the camera itself. And
Oh wow.
yeah, that's something that's pretty common is, like I told you about the time I was stocking my basket and they turned my camera off.
Hmm.
So they can mess with our electronics. They have no issues with that.
Yeah. And you've said
So
they don't like being filmed, right?
I think they don't mind being filmed as long as it's a handheld thing. They don't like stuff being stashed in the woods. They don't like trail cams and recorders and things being put out in a sneaky kind of way. But I
Yeah.
think when you're carrying a camera and you're respectful, because a lot of times, I'll carry the camera, but I'm busy, just going for my walk. I'm not thinking about it, but I'll get like turn your camera on, Barb. I just, get this feeling, I should do. All right. Well, that's how I got the fairies on camera, was I
Yeah.
just kind of had the feeling I should. And I did. And, and the glowing eyes, I was planning on recording for something else. And I just said, I turned the camera on and like I always do, I said, I'm recording. I announced it just to be respectful. And when I said I'm recording, they turned and flashed their eyes at me. So,
Yeah, we have that too. Thank you for that.
oh,
Yeah, that
you're
makes
welcome.
sense. Yeah, just because, like a friend, right? You would want your friend to let you know. If you come out of your bathroom and your friend's at your house and they're setting up hidden cameras in your living room, you're going to be like, get out. What are you doing? We're not
Yeah,
friends anymore. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. You got to have some boundaries. You got to have some respect. But
Yeah.
they want the world to know they're real. I think they want that message to get out there. So they do allow certain important things that they give us that they want us to have, that they want us to share.
Yeah.
And the cloaker is one of them.
Absolutely. So awesome. Thank you for that, Barb, and thank you for
Oh, you're
capturing that and
welcome.
sharing it with the world because that's
You're
huge.
welcome.
That's huge. So here's one picture of the eye glow you sent,
Yeah.
and it's behind these people here. Is that Brian
No,
Bland?
so this is part of the analysis from that footage.
Oh, okay.
Where because when he flashed his eyes he was looking right between a little forked dead tree, which made it like a perfect site to zoom in on to recreate, and beyond that little tree was open air for about 60 feet until there's a little clump of bushes. So he had that distance between him and the camera. And what this picture shows is that at that distance, everybody's eyes are going to look small because, people are telling me, oh, it's just an owl or it's a raccoon. No, because this is like 70 feet from the camera. So when you put people on the trail, Goldie on the trail at that same distance, and then you slide him over and put them all together, you can see that the eyes on that individual were much bigger than that of a squirrel
Yeah.
or a raccoon. I mean, even if you compare them to the size of Goldie's eyes, this wasn't a huge individual. This wasn't an adult. This was a juvenile, but still, it was considerably bigger than a raccoon.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Awesome. Let's see. Oh yeah, is
so
that a
yeah,
close up of?
that's frame three of the eyes. So I was filming at 60 frames per second, and the eyes were captured in 5 frames. So to us, that would have been nothing more than a glint of light. That's how fast that would have happened. But in those 5 frames, you can not only see his eyes behind the light that he's emitting, because this is not a reflection. This is coming from him. You can see his eyes behind the light, and this is frame three. You can actually see the outline of his cloaked head there. And
I think I have others. Yeah, because
yes, this is the last one, just as he turned his head away. This is frame five, and you can look right into his pupil and you can see his brow
oh, wow.
just before he turned his head away.
Yep, I see it.
Not a raccoon.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Oh, now this
Oh,
is a
that's a
fairy you
fairy.
captured.
Yes.
So cool. So these are the pictures, but you also sent us a video.
Uh-huh.
So I'll just go through this. Oh, that's amazing. Gosh, they're real.
Yeah, they are. So this is, I believe, the female. I'm not sure, this
Mm-hmm.
is just based on what I've witnessed.
Mm-hmm.
It appears that there's like one that is really bright and is fast, but is more meandering and more relaxed and morphs into different shapes.
Mm-hmm.
And the other ones are just like pale gray, really fast balls that fly through the
Yeah.
air
You said
and
they
could
move
be,
at, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
oh, they're anywhere from just, dime size to the biggest I've seen was like a cantaloupe and extremely fast. So I don't know if this is she would be like the queen and they would be like the workers or how it works if they're a flock or a swarm or I'm not sure how you would refer to them. They're smart because nobody has ever scraped one off their windshield. So yeah, that's what I know about the fairies.
Yeah. Well, you also know they move from, you clocked them because we're about to show a video you captured from 70 miles per hour to 200 miles per hour. They move.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well,
Yeah.
he covered over 130 feet in less than half a second.
Wow.
So I had to really slow the footage down just to see them.
Yeah. Did you see them with your eyes at all? Like maybe even
Um,
vaguely?
when this film was happening, I had no idea. I was completely focused on the camera, trying to angle it so that I would have a pretty screenshot of Goldie with the forest in the background. And it wasn't
Okay.
until I took that screenshot and posted it, and somebody said, "Oh, it looks like there's a Sasquatch reading a newspaper in the woods back there." And I thought, before I delete the video, I know that's probably just a shadow of something that looks like that. But before I delete the video, I'm going to take a closer look. So I kind of zoomed in on that spot. And when I did, something zipped across the screen.
Hmm.
And so I zoomed back out, and that's when I saw the fairies were there. But since the video happened, I went back up there and yeah, I've seen them with my own eyes, and I've taken friends up there who have also seen them, and I've seen them here around the cabin. Um, I've also seen them again up at one of our camps, but they're not the same ones. The white one that's with them up there is smaller,
Hmm.
and yeah, so I don't know if every drainage has one or how it works, but
Yeah, I've heard that different areas do have different groups and different kings and queens. Apparently, if you come to a new area, one of the first one, if you see one, it's usually the king or the queen that's there to check you out and greet you.
yep.
Yeah.
Well, there she is.
Oh, so cool. Okay, I think maybe then it might start playing right away as the video you captured that you just referred
Okay.
to. Oh, no, well, here's another
Oh,
picture.
well, that
Oh,
this was in the process of morphing. Okay, so that
okay.
that ball of light
Mm-hmm.
became like this baby shape. And
Okay.
then from the baby shape, it then morphed into the Tinkerbell, the first picture you showed.
Oh, yeah. Okay. from the baby shape. Just go back real quick to show
And this
people.
all happened
There.
as, yeah, yeah, so it went from that just bright light to the baby shape to the Tinkerbell
Oh,
form
okay.
here.
So this is the final form.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is just as she was flying past me.
Oh, Barb, so cool. Look.
I
Okay, so this is
know.
going backwards. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Okay, now let's see. This might be. Here we go.
here we go. Oh, you know what? I might have sent you the wrong clip. Yep, I'm too far down the road. This one here, you're probably going to have a really hard time seeing anything because this was almost like it was the very
Oh.
last thing that I did as I'm going down the road that I
Uh-huh.
found in the film is almost like I walked through a cloud of bubbles. And
Uh-huh.
they're very faint and difficult to see, but they kind of like scattered and flew off. So I don't know if these are like fairy babies. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is. So
Really?
but it's
Okay.
really difficult to see, but it's just kind of like a little cloud of bubbles.
Yeah, I see that. Well, you know what? I can edit it in, just so everybody knows, and I will try to
Okay.
get the slower version of the cloaker too and edit it in.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll make sure we have that. But I just want to tell you that you, like I said, we put back in our little filing cabinets in our mind. And when I was living in Pennsylvania, I just recently sold that house and moved to Maryland. But I would see, I would hang out a lot. I lived out back when it was warm out. And I had hummingbirds. I'm very familiar with hummingbirds in the yard. I see how they move. And just while I was living there, before I read your book, I would see these it looked like either very large bugs or very tiny birds just zooming so fast through the backyard or towards the woods, and I'm
That was
wondering,
them.
and so I thought that was weird, right? I observed that and I'm like, that's weird. Put in the back of my mind, what is that? And then when I was reading your book, Barb, that the little playback and my pulled that out of my cabinet mind, and I'm like, that what Barb's talking, I was seeing fairies. Thank you, Barb,
Yep.
for
Oh,
clarifying
you're
for me.
welcome.
Because
You're
now I
very welcome.
know. Because they were moving so fast. I was like, is that safe for that bird or that bug to be moving that fast?
No,
It was a
it's
fairy.
yep. I mean, they make hummingbirds seem slow, you know?
Yes, exactly. I was like, that's not a hummingbird. It's moving faster than a hummingbird. Yeah, so now I
Yeah.
know what I saw. So thank you for
Oh,
that.
you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm sure there's got to be a lot of people out there that have seen them over the years. They just didn't have anything to, attach that to in their brain. It's like
Yeah,
if you don't have any kind of understanding of where it is, not everybody gets to keep that seed to go back to. But I think that, the more of us that come forward and say, yeah, I've seen this, the easier it's going to be for other people to talk about it.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. And when I
y-
first moved in, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, got finished a movie, and I was looking out in the backyard and I saw this I thought someone was smoking a cigarette in the backyard. And it was moving, and I was like, is someone out there smoking? Because it was a bright orange round and it was
yeah,
moving. And I was like, maybe it's the neighbors. They have insomnia and they smoke. I mean, I didn't appreciate they were like smoking in the woods in my
that's,
backyard, looking back at my house as well. But met the neighbors shortly afterwards, and they don't smoke, they don't have insomnia. So I figured that was maybe it
yeah,
was, a fairy I saw. So I know Penny Rummel says that the smaller orbs tend to be elementals, I think. So
that could be.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So, okay, so this is a fingerprint you sent me.
Yes.
And I think you sent me three different versions, but it's the same fingerprint, correct?
Yes, it is. So I
Okay.
think the one photo I sent you was the first photo we took when we found it. And then the other one is just zoomed in on that particular print. And then this one is the one that's been sharpened.
Okay. Should I go
So,
back? Should I go to the other
oh
ones?
no, you go ahead and just, I'll tell you the story if you want to just kind of go through the three of them.
Okay.
Um, so what happened was this, this more recent camp that I told you we've been utilizing. The first night that we were there, we had the run through and the vocal right there by the fire. And then a couple nights later, we're sitting there by the fire, and it just kind of pops into my head that, we should go check the vehicles for fingerprints. That's something that we do all the time. I have a black light, and then we use a regular flashlight, and we carefully examine everybody's vehicles. And that's what we did. We were about 100 feet back into the woods from the road, and there were 5 cars on the camp side of the road. We very carefully went over and didn't find anything. So we spent probably 5 minutes per vehicle for a total of about 25 minutes. And then we crossed the road to my friend Terry's truck, which had been parked on the other side all week. And as we're crossing the road, I'm saying, I'll bet you this is where we're going to find something. And sure enough, just a few seconds later, we were looking at this. And so this is 1 3/4 by 1 9/16 inches. And you can see that it's really only a partial print. So that measurement isn't even the full size of that fingerprint, what it would be.
Wow.
So Terry's holding the light and I'm holding the camera, and we're documenting this. And I'm trying to make a video of it. And as we're filming, it's getting harder and harder to see. And then it dawned on us it was wet, it's drying out, that this individual had just come out of the river and touched the dust on the truck and left this print. Well, as it's drying in the video, you can see the kind of the greasy sheen on the lower part of it, but the whole upper half of it basically disappeared. I mean, we could still see it with our eyes, but on camera it was no longer showing up. And that's because it was drying. So while we were checking those other vehicles along that 25 minutes, we were being watched, and this was given to us in just enough time to observe it and document it before it dried out. And that individual was still standing there watching us, because about 30 feet behind us, we got the big stick snap in the darkness. And yeah, this was a gift. This was an intentional gift.
Absolutely. Do you
And,
think they telepath? I mean, you're obviously highly intuitive, but I'm trying to figure out if it's just your intuition or if they're giving you nudges telepathically without you
oh,
even realizing it, Barb.
I
Like,
do believe they do. Yeah, they
yeah.
definitely give us nudges, and you don't even know that it's coming from them. When I was sitting there at the fire and it just pops into my head, oh, we should go look for fingerprints. That was a nudge. This was something that they were planning on doing because they knew what we were going to do. They've seen us do it so many times before. We're going to go out there. We're going to start at one end with the flashlight and the black light. We're going to go over all the vehicles. And then they waited until we got to the very last one, and they placed it there just where we'd find it. First place we were going to walk up to, and then we got to watch it dry. So yeah,
So
it doesn't get
cool.
any better than that.
It doesn't.
Well, just being at that campsite, I'm sure was a plan. It wasn't something that was by accident.
Yeah,
We were made to be there.
absolutely, no doubt. No doubt at all. My gosh, they need to make like a 3-hour documentary about you and your life and all the stuff you've captured. Oh,
Oh, we're just getting started.
I know you are. I think I will not be the least bit surprised if, like, years from now, the camp outs involve them, like literally them sitting at the campfire with you guys.
I know. I
I wouldn't be
know.
surprised.
Well, I'm kind of sure they already are.
Yeah,
We
just a few
just
feet
can't see
away.
them yet.
Yeah,
We can hear them, and
yeah,
they leave their mark, but they pick up things and move them around. But I'm looking for the day where we can set them in a chair, and we can actually watch them and talk back and forth with them like we do.
yeah. I really feel like that time's coming. I do.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And I feel like right now they're picking the people that they're going to do that with, you know?
I think so. They know who has it in their heart to share the information and accept it without being mentally damaged, and then be able to turn around and share it in the right way, in
Hmm.
a truthful and honest and um, respectful manner. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, they know who.
Yes, they do. They're like 10 steps ahead of us. Well, they're
Yeah.
psychic. Yeah. So I don't
Yep.
know. This looks like night footage. And it's just gonna start. If I hit play, it's the only way I can see it.
Oh, okay. This was my footage of the eyes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll keep playing here.
Oh,
That's the original footage. I didn't know anything happened at all until I got back to the cabin and I knew that something had happened. I just didn't know what. So I watched the video
wow, that's so
and then
fast.
yeah, well, and I had to watch it again and I went through it frame by frame and that's how I found these. So and then this is 5 frames out of filming at 60 frames per second. So this is literally a glint of light to our eyes. And, subliminally,
Wow.
maybe my brain saw it, but I wasn't conscious of it. And that's how I knew to go look. But yeah, I had no idea what it was looking for other than I knew I captured something and I knew it was there.
Yeah.
I had to find it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we go walk, there's probably stuff happening all around us all the time when we go on our hikes and our walks. Like, how much stuff are people missing
Oh,
all the
yeah.
time,
Oh, yeah.
especially if you're
Especially,
looking at your phone.
exactly. Or your feet, or
Yeah.
anything, talking to somebody, you're in conversation, anything. It's not just your phones that'll keep you distracted from nature. A busy mind is enough to do that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I don't know if there's, oh, I'm
oh,
not sure what this
the
is.
the 3 sticks.
Oh,
So you remember the 3 sticks in the yard that I
yes,
that
by
we
the
talked
chair.
about?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, so that was, I believe, 2022. And then this last year, when we got back from that camp, I had 3 more sticks that were lined up right out here at the trailhead, which is, I get things like that when I come home from camps. There'll be some kind of an acknowledgement or gift. So that's cool. Well, then our next camp, we went off to the Blue Mountains, and so it would have been in June. I got 3 more sticks at the trailhead. In July, we went to the Blue Mountains. And one day I went up to the spring to fill water jugs. And that's also where you have a really good cell signal is up there. So I took my phone with me and I parked and I looked at my phone, checked the messages, and then I put it in the little cubby in the front dash of the car and I put a cloth over it so the sun wouldn't shine on it, get it hot. Walked maybe 50 feet in front of the car, filled my water jugs, came back, put them in the car, got back in, went to grab my phone, and it's not there. So now I'm second guessing. Did I really check my messages, or was that yesterday that I'm thinking it was today, but it was yes. What's going on? Where's my phone? I mean, clearly I was never out of sight of the car. There were people behind me that were camping that were within clear view that if anybody had come up to the car, they'd have seen them. There's no tracks in the dust on the road. So I must be confused. But then I remembered, oh yeah, on the way up, I was looking for tracks on the road and I stepped out of the car once to check one, but it had treads. So I just got back in and maybe I dropped my phone there. It's on the road. So I go back down and I check the road. No, there's no phone on the road. I circle back through by my tent thinking maybe I left it in my tent, but I know I brought it. No, it's not in the tent. Go back up to the spring. Oh my, did I drop it on the ground? Maybe it's under the dust. Maybe the dust covered it and I'm just not seeing it. So circle back around again, checking everywhere. It's not there. And now I'm getting frantic. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, there's some people, strangers that have come up the road and they're kind of parked over across from the spring on the other side. And I'm thinking, well, I'm sure they couldn't have come and taken my phone, but if those people leave, I don't even know who they are. I'll never have the opportunity to ask. And, so then I'll be wondering, I should have asked, do I really let them go without asking? Oh my God, am I going to do this? All right. So I walk over there and you guys wouldn't happen to have seen a phone? And they're very friendly. And the one guy, he's like, no, no, did you lose one? Hey, you know what? We'll call it for you. Oh, great. That would be awesome. So I give him my phone number and the guy calls it and some guy answers at the other end. And the guy calling goes like, who's this? And the guy that answered is like, well, who's this? And suddenly I realized this guy dialed the wrong phone number. So
Oh no.
now I don't want you guys starting issues here. You got problems. Calm down. It's okay.
I was
Oh, about
hoping it
that
was a
time.
Sasquatch on the
Yeah.
other end.
Well, about that time, I hear my friend over at my car because now I have friends that have come and are helping me. Look, I hear somebody go, Barb, we found your phone. So I very politely thank these strangers, walk back over to my car, And my phone is inside. All you got to do is lean your head in the window, and it is leaning upright up against the passenger door behind the driver's seat
Oh my
in
gosh.
clear view, standing upright on its side or on the end. So
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
okay, oh, you stinkers. And now I'm pointing my hand, I'm shaking my finger at the tree line. God darn it, this is off limits. You do not play with phones. And keys are off limits too. Don't mess with anybody's keys. So
Yes.
so then I kind of walked over and it's like, all right, I walked back over by the spring and back to the car. And that's when I saw right behind my door handle where they tuck leaves and things in as gifts for me. See the three lines that are
Yes.
painted in like dust pen,
Oh my
dust
gosh.
pencil.
Yes.
So that's my three
Oh,
individuals that either were over there with me or the ones that were there were fully aware of my three individuals here that leave me the three sticks. So that was my little sign. And it's like, you stinkers, you got me.
don't mess with my phone. Oh my gosh, yeah. I've got my passwords on my phone. Please do not mess with my phone.
Yeah, but I can totally see them just laughing. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
They were getting a kick out of that. I think they probably felt a
Yeah.
little bit bad with how you were freaking out. Like, oh, we took this a little too far. Okay, we won't mess
Yeah.
with their phone again.
So, yeah. So there's
That
the
is
signature of what happened to my
awesome.
phone.
That is awesome. I love that story. I was wondering what this was. I was like, this looks like sticks, but it looks like a car door. Like, how does this fit? So
Yep. So they went
cool.
above and beyond this time to leave the little signature where I wouldn't miss it.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I love that story. And again, their sense of humor. Oh,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
this is
They're
what you were referring to.
hilarious, aren't they?
They
Oh,
are.
there's those legs in the bank that where he sat there draining off over the bank from where we were sitting by the fire there. And it was just
Wow.
right, just a few feet above me, behind me, where the flashing cat ball was put down. It was moved from about 8 feet down the bank and picked up while everybody was sitting there
My
and
gosh,
put
so
back
cool.
down right there, just above where this is.
Do you have a guesstimate of how long those legs were?
Um, I'd say around 60 inches.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a lot taller than you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And I'm not even sure if he was sitting on his butt or laying on his belly because at one, you can't see it in this picture, but the trail up behind me, you can see where they kind of reached up and put a hand print. There were finger marks where they'd kind of dug fingers in up above us.
Okay. Can you see
So
that
I
in the
mean, it could
picture?
have just been reaching back or reaching up. Yeah,
Okay.
it's in a video clip that isn't 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 easy to spot. So
Okay. But you have a YouTube channel. It doesn't look like you've posted recently, but you have Squatching with Barb and Goldie, right? On YouTube.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So people can go there to see more of your videos.
Yep. And also on Facebook, I've been doing a lot of reels. You know, I get a little bored with the YouTube, I put a lot of work into, editing a video together and then it just kind of sits there and, 2 days later it's forgotten about. But when I can post something on a Facebook reel, it's more of a fun challenge, put all the important stuff into a minute and then it really travels. A lot more people get to see it and I have a lot more interactions with the audience that are viewing it. So yeah, check out the Facebook reels on my page because that's where the really good stuff is all just kind of um edited down and the cream of the crop is all right there, easy to see.
Awesome. Perfect. And how can people find you? What are you under on Facebook?
Barbara
Just
Shoop.
Barber Shoot. Barber Shoot? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And
Well, my original account was hacked, so I had to start one over. So it used to be Barb Shoop, but this count is Barbara Shoop. So
okay. Okay. And
yeah.
are those, is that, where else can people find you, or is that it?
Well, the Flash of Beauty movies. I'm also in the David Paulides American Sasquatch, Man, Myth,
Okay.
or Legend. What is it? Yeah. So I'm in that new movie.
Okay.
We talked about the Cloaker event in that one. And then yeah, my book. You get my book. It's got
Yes.
all
Get
the
your book.
stories that'll
So
lead you.
awesome.
It'll take you on my journey from thinking that they're just an undiscovered form of wildlife to the understanding that I have now. And then I have some more that I'm working on that are going to focus more on what happens when we go camping. And
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. So we get to live vicariously through Barb Shupe. How awesome.
Well,
Thank you for
I
that.
share as much as I can,
Well, it's
as
awesome.
well
Thank
as I
you.
can, This is
Yeah,
all just too wonderful and amazing for me to just keep to myself. This is
absolutely.
meant for everybody.
Yes, thank you so
Yeah,
much. And do you
you're
have
welcome.
one last message for everyone here in May 2026 before we close out?
Um, just go out and talk to them. You don't have to go deep into the forest. Just find a place where there's some fresh running water and some healthy trees. And whether you think anybody's there listening or not, just talk to them. And whether it be fairies or Sasquatch or whatever elementals are living there in nature, let them be aware that you're aware of them and see what happens. Be respectful, be honest, and be specific when you ask for things.
Yeah.
And yeah, see what happens.
All right. Beautiful. Awesome. Barb Shoup, thank you so much for coming on the Being Human Now show. We appreciate you, and
Oh,
it's
you're
been a
welcome.
pleasure.
Well, thank you for having me. I've
All right.
enjoyed this very much.
Good. Me too. Me too. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.